Hello, everybody. Welcome to another brand new video series that I'm going to call Through the Eyes of the Hawk. It's going to be a VOD review series for both professional and amateur games where I highlight some cool plays or early games or entire games, whatever, and I go through and VOD review them so you can see through the eyes of the Hawk, through the eyes of a color commentator, maybe learn a thing or two, maybe see some of what's happening in the game. Not going to be any face cam or any sort of editing for this one. I was just mostly doing this spur of the moment, a little bit impromptu, but if you do enjoy this sort of content, I'd be more than happy to start putting some production quality into it. So let me know if you guys have a good time. But anyway, without any more doing, I will be VOD reviewing Cloud9 against Golden Guardians. This is the game where Vulcan had the massive read on the tower dive. I'll be going over everything from the early game that led up to that play, as well as the aftermath from the play and how it led to Cloud9's eventual win. So sit tight, and I hope you all enjoy. So, coming out the gate here, Cloud9 have a stronger level 1 composition, so they're going to go for an early invade. And now it's important to note that Golden Guardians, their level 1 composition is actually not too bad. They have like Lee Sin, Ziggs, Leona, all pretty good level 1 champions. But where the advantage really lies for Cloud9 is Blabber and Fudge on the Volibear and the Gwen, respectively, is so much stronger than Diana and Renekton at level 1. Before I continue on that point, I want you guys to all see this sort of unorthodox deep ward that Cloud9 gets on the enemy wolf camp. Remember that word for later. I'll be going over why that's important. But going back to it, like Thresh, Leona, Varus, Ziggs, and Lee Sin, all pretty even in level 1. But it's the advantage on the top side of the map where if any 4v4, 5v5, whatever were to break out, Cloud9 would always win because you have a stronger Gwen, you have a stronger Volibear. So now Cloud9, they know that they have this early advantage. They go in, they get the deep ward, and then they're going to pull everybody up towards the top side as well. Vulcan's going to shadow in case there's a 4-man stack from GGS. They know that Ziggs can't be there because they saw him. He's going to shadow in case there's any 4-man stack. There's not. He's going to go into his own bot side, group up with Sven. And remember how I said that you have the winning top and jungle at the level 1? Well, they're going to use this to delayed invade. And since you have the winning top and jungle, you win any 3v3 that Golden Guardians tries to contest with. So Blabber with the sweeper, they're going to walk in around 120 before the camp spawns. You win any 3v3, meaning that this delayed invade is completely free. You're guaranteed to split the map. And you know that Lee Sin wasn't even coming to contest because you saw him on that ward at the Wolves, excuse me. So unorthodox ward already paying a little bit of dividends right there off the bat. So anyway, Blabber, he's going to start on the enemy Raptors. And you might be wondering why he decides to start Raptors instead of the red buff. And the main reason is Blabber's solo lanes don't want to leash him. Gwen and Lucian both want to get into lane and start controlling their wave states, playing aggressively. Gwen has the Ignite, so she should have 1v1 pressure over Licorice on the Renekton. And then Perks is playing Lucian melee versus range matchup into the Lee Sin. So he wants to go and start contesting. So if they were on the red, Blabber would probably need a bit more of a leash unless his clear was going to be slower, which you don't want because of the strategy that Blabber is going to employ. So you start him on the Raptors because you basically don't have to leash him, and you can immediately go to lane. Blabber can get this done. Then he gets to level 2. Red buff's a lot easier, right? So after finishing these Raptors, going to walk up towards the red buff, and he's going to leave one Raptor alive. That's important for later as well, but basically it puts the respawn on a longer timer effectively because clearing that one Raptor doesn't really give a lot in gold, but Iconic's not going to see that Raptor until a lot later, and it's going to delay the reset by about a minute. So Blabber now clearing the red buff. He's not going to clear up towards the enemy Krugs, though. He's not going to do a traditional 6 camp, split the map, vertical jungle clear. And Kobe's actually highlighting this right now as well, where instead of doing that, Blabber is actually going to path down towards mid, through mid, and towards his own red buff. And for anyone that doesn't know why he's doing this and why it's possible, I'll go over that real quick. So basically, this is called a 3-quadrant clear, and it's an extremely effective pathing in the early game, and a very high reward strategy. And it's something that I like to call removing the enemy jungler. You completely remove Iconic from the game because basically what this pathing allows for is Iconic now effectively only has 4 camps to farm. His blue Gromp Wolves, he's not really getting the Raptors because he's only getting one little one. And then his Krugs. 4 camps, that's it. Meanwhile, Blabber is getting all 3 of these quadrants. And why is it possible? Well, you see, I talked already about how Cloud9 has strong early game and how their solo lanes should have 1v1 pressure and look to shove. Melee versus range matchup, Ignite on the Gwen. So, pushing mid means that there's no possibility for a Blaze Olive to ever come contest because he's getting pushed in. He's down a level right now. So, Blabber can walk right through mid lane with complete impunity. There is no response. Likewise, Licorice can't come over because you probably lose a skirmish against Ignite Gwen or risk getting pushed in and a snowbally champion like Gwen that you can't afford to get behind against if you don't find yourself a kill. She's ahead in farm. Also, Cloud9 also has the winning jungle matchup, and that is sort of essential point number 2. Essential, like, there's 2 prerequisites for this that have to be in place, is pushing mid and then winning jungle, and then the pushing side lanes also help. The winning jungle matchup for Blabber means that if Diana were ever to encounter you, you would also always win that fight. Volibear is so much stronger than Diana in the early game. Diana, even though she's going to be a level up after clearing these wolves, it doesn't matter because Volibear has both CC and healing in early skirmishes, as well as a pretty good amount of burst. Meanwhile, Diana only has burst and sustained damage, but she doesn't have any sort of sustain in her own health or CC to lock down Blabber. So it really means that you will always lose that fight. Also, double range matchup into range versus melee matchup means that Cloud9 even has a pushing bottom lane. So you are pushing everywhere. You're winning literally in all 4 places on the map right now, which is why this is so easily possible. So if you're Iconic right now, and maybe you're in a solo queue game and this happens to you where you're getting 3 quadranted, how do you break out of this? Well, normally I would say identify wherever your strongest lane is and attempt to attack it because you know you're not going to get a lot of farm anyway. But the problem with that is I mentioned how Cloud9's already winning in all 4 places and they're hard winning. So there's no response for Iconic. So you can't identify your strongest lane and attempt to attack it. Try to get a strong gank off to punish the play with kills. Because you can't. You're losing everywhere. So Iconic is forced to farm. And in farming, remember that unorthodox word from earlier? It's still just barely alive right now. So they see Iconic. He's, kiting his jungle camp up towards the top side. And the reason why they put it on the wolves and not the blue is because you knew Iconic was going to start bottom side on his blue. He wants a double leash clear to propel himself. And you're also invading on the top side. So he's on the bottom side. So you don't need to ward his blue because you already know he's going to start. And you know that Diana's always going to go blue to Gromp to wolves because he's going to want to do a traditional full clear. So by warding the wolves instead of the blue, you're warding his final camp. And the final camp in the quadrant is what determines where the jungler is going to end up going. If that makes sense. Where after clearing his final camp, he's either going to go look for the gank or look to cross over to continue farming his jungle, right? He's not going to do that in the middle of clearing his quadrant for the most part. He's always going to do that after clearing his wolves here on his first clear. So by seeing him kiting his jungle camp up towards the top side, you actually can see and know for a fact a little bit sooner before he reveals here that he's not coming bottom and he is indeed going towards top side. So Cloud9's bot lane can continue to free push without needing to wait for Iconic to show on the top side. Because Iconic, his alternate option was to 3 camp clear on this side and then try to get down towards bottom side to make a play. It's very risky and doesn't have a high percentage chance of working, but that's sort of the nature of being 3 quadranted is you are removed from the game and you need to try to make a play for yourself lest you fall behind. So by getting this word down on the wolves, Cloud9 knows that their bot lane can freely push up. So really nice word, really nice play there from Cloud9. And what 3 quadranting ends up doing, as I've said a lot now, is Iconic is now removed from the game effectively. And it's worth noting he's ahead of Blabber, but he's going to be behind the state in the game because the farm potential for Iconic is so low. Blabber is not farming more camps than Iconic. Because Blabber is actually, like, he farms slower. He's spending so much time walking around the map. He's not farming very quickly. But Iconic has so little to farm, it doesn't matter if he's farming faster because he has nothing to do. And now Cloud9's bot lane, as I've mentioned, they know that Iconic's going to be on the top side. They can play with impunity. Nice trade on a Chime. So what Blabber does now is he clears his red and his raptors. He leaves his Krugs. The reason why he does this, because in 3-quadranting, you need to deny the 3rd quadrant. You're not going to be able to farm every single camp. So he farms these 2 camps and these 2 camps. If you go to your Krugs, you're slow. It's too slow of a clear. You're not playing towards your strong side of the map. In Cloud9's case, he needs to path towards the top side of the map, so that way he can play around Budge, who is pushing up. You want to play around your Gwen in this situation, and you don't want Diana to get all this juicy farm right here. So you need to start pathing towards this side. You know, so he does the red, does the raptors because Volibear does them really fast, starts pathing this way, and as we'll see too, Blabber, he's going to skip over the wolves because, again, it's slow. You don't need to farm this. You just need to make sure that Diana's not farming this. Remember, you're not getting yourself ahead. You're just putting Diana behind. He's going to blast Cone over, and he's going to farm his blue. And so Blabber now has more camps available to farm. Iconic's only option is to walk down towards bottom crab or to gank top right here, but that's risky because basically Iconic's options are limited because he knows that Blabber's a good jungle. He knows that Blabber knows everything I've been talking about, and he's going to do this triangular pathing. He's not going to full clear. So he knows that there's no sense in sticking around top side when you're inevitably going to lose the 2v2 against this. Or the 3v3, because we've talked about how Cloud9 has the stronger top side triangle in the early game. So you're inevitably always going to lose the fight. So Iconic, cuts his losses, takes the reset, which is his only other option. It's either stay top or reset and go towards bot crab. So now a few things are going to happen. One thing on the top side, one thing on the bottom side. I'll talk about the top side first. So Blabber clearing his blue and Perks with his shove. They time the crash with the completion of the blue buff, and they're all going to start walking towards top side. Because, again, Diana had to back, so you know she's not in the area. And you want your Gwen to be able to push in. Now, Cloud9's not actually going to get a kill, and it looks like sort of wasted time because they're all going to show, and then nothing's going to happen. But it's very important. That's a pretty weird frame to pause on, but we'll roll with it. Anyway, the reason why it's important is even though you don't get a kill, Licorice's wave is arriving first, and these minions are all low. So this is actually set up a bounce. Even though they didn't full push it in, they still set up a bounce by getting these minions low enough and allowing these waves to come. And it just basically protected Fudge on his shove up. So even though you're not killing anyone, you're not getting any hard gold advantage yet, you've set up the wave to push away from Licorice. We'll come back to that later. Now, the play on the bottom side is, I said how Iconic's only thing to farm was bot side crab. Well, now Cloud9's bottom lane, with the shove that they had, tries to roam up and finish this off. Now, this is a very low-risk play for them, because if you get engaged on, you can basically just walk out. They intelligently push it away from the CC character, who can lock them down, towards the mid lane, and I will say a Blaze Olive makes a really nice move here, instead of trying to counter the play on top side, and this is sort of what Cloud9's giving up by going for their topside play, is instead of denying more from Iconic, denying both crabs from him, they're deciding to put Licorice in a bad situation, which ends up being the correct play, as we'll highlight later, because Gwen's strong side, right? You want to play towards strong side, but Cloud9 still, they can pretty freely attempt to deny this, and okay, they get thwarted. A Blaze Olive, good play. Chime as well, roaming with his jungler. They need to guarantee him this crab, so it's a good play by Golden Guardians to at least guarantee that. Force out the exhaust. Slightly positive play for them. But now, Iconic has nothing to farm, and Blabber still has multiple camps, so he's going to go back into his Gromp, start getting a lead. And again, I want to shout out Golden Guardians. Mismanaged wave here from Perks means that, he didn't let the wave fully bounce back towards him. He started trying to instantly push it back out, and this gets punished because Blabber wants to continue playing towards his top lane for reasons I'll mention later. So Chime and Iconic going to make a really nice punish and force out Perks' flash. So good play by Golden Guardians, mismanaged wave by Perks right there. And it also slows down Blabber a little bit because it pulls him over, but regardless, now this is where the delayed respawn on the Raptors is huge. Because if Blabber had just cleared all the Raptors instead of leaving one up, they would be respawning right now. They would have just respawned right now. So Iconic would have a choice over whether or not he wants to do his Raptors or he wants to do his Gromp. But because Blabber left one Raptor, those are not up. So you know Iconic, the only thing he can farm is his Gromp, and he has to go farm it because he's behind. You have to farm all your camps when you're behind. So Iconic has to go bottom side. And Blabber recognized this. Cloud9, they've set this whole play up well in advance. All of this is planned. You know all of this. You know where Iconic has to go. There's no other option. And remember how I said the top side, strong side, you want to keep playing towards top side, right? And Licorice's wave has been slowly pushing away from him, and Fudge has been holding it. He uses TP to hold it even. He backed TP to get full HP and hold the wave. He's not allowed Licorice to crash in, and instead it's been a slow push away from Licorice, which means that the wave's, the wave's pushing away. He has to overextend himself to try to get it in, and with his jungler not on the side, it's the freest gank of Blabber's life, and they're going to get the first blood. And this is where the fruits of all of Cloud9's labor pay off in the early game. They've now set the enemy jungler behind. They've put your own top laner ahead. And although, it's not a massive lead yet, you're still up a first blood. You're up 1,000 gold at just 5 minutes. The enemy jungler is just out of the game. And Cloud9, really, really nice move from them. That's all been set up. That was orchestrated to perfection. All of that was planned in advance, and it requires immense team coordination, but Cloud9 pulled it off exceptionally well. Now, the unfortunate thing is, because this wave was pushing into Fudge, now it's going to bounce away from him, so Licorice is going to make a really nice play, and he's going to hide in the bush here as the wave. See, there's one more caster minion, so it's bouncing away from Fudge. Fudge knows he needs to push it, and he's going to get solo killed. So, good play there from the side of Licorice to get a return kill, but it's not the end of the world for Cloud9, because for Cloud9, they know that Iconic has to be topside because, again, he farmed his camps on respawns, right? So he's going to do his Gromp, then Wolves, then Raptors, then Krugs. He has to farm because he's behind. So Blabber, after resetting here, which, again, Licorice could go for that solo kill because he knew Blabber was going to reset. There's no way Blabber stays around after doing the first blood. He hadn't reset the entire game. So good recognition there to know that the enemy jungler is resetting. But Cloud9 knows that Licorice just used to teleport, and Iconic has to be topside farming his Krugs because he needs the farm. So coming off the reset, Blabber walking down towards the bottom side is going to be able to take away the dragon completely for free. So although getting killed on the top side is not optimal, it's a really tight timer, but Blabber is going to immediately take advantage of this, and there's no response to be had because as well as jungler being on the top side, Cloud9, Perks, he's pushing in mid. Bot lane starting to push out. It had just pushed towards them. They're bouncing and stacking a wave. So you've got pushing both of your bot side waves. Jungler's not there. And Blabber, although kind of narrowly, he will take away the dragon. So good play to them. And now you've taken away the objective on your weak side too. Because where Golden Guardians, they weren't necessarily strong because, if we can see the farm, like Sven is destroying Stixxay and farm by like 20. You're not really strong here on the bottom side, but Blabber is going to play towards the top side, towards the strong side on the Gwen. So being able to take away this objective denies any response from Golden Guardians and gets you another early game advantage. So now 6 minutes into the game, you're up 1,000 gold, you're up a dragon, you're up, Diana's not level 6. Diana wants to be pretty close to level 6 at this point, but she's not because she's not been able to farm as many camps as she would like. So you're just ahead in tempo on the map. So the jungle's been removed. You've applied pressure to the top side. You've gotten the dragon. Now comes the read. Let's talk about first why Golden Guardians wants to go for a dive here. So the enemy jungler is just taking the dragon on bottom side. You know that he probably wants to do his Krugs too, because I said earlier that Krugs don't matter. Well, now Blabber wants to get himself to level 6. He wants to farm all of his camps, finish the Krugs, then he can reset, go Gromp, Wolves, Raptors, back down towards this side, right? Or Gromp into gank top. So he wants to clear his Krugs and then reset to get as much farm as possible. Golden Guardians, Iconic has nothing to farm because he just full cleared and just reset. So he has nothing to do. Crab's up on top side as well. So the play is sort of top side. Also, Licorice has been stacking a wave, which stacking a wave means that you're stacking up more than one wave worth of minions. It could be 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, whatever. However many minions. It's more than 6. Licorice has been stacking a wave. The reason why that is conducive for a dive is for two things. One, you deny more minions. Fudge, as you can see up here, is not level 6 yet. Licorice is. So if you can dive Fudge and deny, say, 2 waves of minions, that's 2 waves of minions that this now teleportless top laner is missing out on. So any advantage Cloud9 had on the top side would be completely negated because Fudge would lose so much golden XP under turret. You probably even get a plate because you got so many minions there. 2, it's hard to clear out a stacked wave of minions. You see all the time teams go for a dive where the enemy top laner is able to quickly clear out all the minions to thwart the dive because you don't have the minions going under the turret. But with a stacked wave, it's much, much harder, especially for a champion like Gwen, to kill all of those minions off to thwart the dive. So there's 2 reasons there why stacking the wave is better. So that's why Golden Guardians wants to go up to the top side to make a dive on Fudge. But Cloud9 recognizes this, and it comes off of 2 things. One, the stacked wave that I just mentioned. Fudge says, hey, Licorice is stacking a wave against me. I need all these minions. And I'm not level 6, so Licorice is at the strong point in the lane right now. 2, Iconic is going to walk mid here and help a Blaze Olive push out. So, recognizing this, we'll see. Vulcan has reset and he's, doing his normal pathing back down towards the bottom side river to try to get his standard vision control. But they're going to recognize this. There it is. He's going to immediately change his pathing. Fudge is going to call him to the top side based on the things that I just mentioned. Iconic helped his mid laner push out and path towards the top side. So they see enemy junglers coming top side, enemy mid laner is pushed in is coming top side, and they're stacking a wave against me. This is prime dive conditions, especially because Blabber is not there. So enemy, we don't have my jungler. They're all coming to the top side, and there's a lot of minions here that I need to get. He recognizes this, and he says, Vulcan, you're the only person that can stop this dive because Vulcan had just come off a reset. Also, Perks doing his part here too is going to use the culling onto a Blaze Olive to just chunk him out, get him to about half HP. That way he's lower for the start of the dive, which makes it even more threatening. So, in recognizing this play, the stacked wave arrives. It's 7 minions strong, so it's not a massive stacked wave, but it is still a stacked wave because they're especially all full HP. They're not like low. Licorice has been slowly pushing them up. He's going to cut off the escape route. TP-less top laner gets level 6. That's huge for Fudge. He needed that level 6. And Vulcan is here. So Cloud9, they recognize the stacked wave. They recognize that the enemy jungler is walking towards topside with the mid. And Vulcan immediately changed his pathing to the top side. They thwart the dive. They get the triple kill. 2 of them onto your Gwen. She's now 3-1. And Cloud9 basically wins the game off of this play. It is absolutely massive for Cloud9 to get this play. And now, Cloud9, they're up 2,500 gold. It's just absolutely huge. And that was the only proactive look that Golden Guardians had for the entire game. Iconic, he can go back to farming or whatever, but that was your one shot to try to come back from the big early game that Cloud9 had, from removing your jungler from the game, from getting first blood, from getting dragon. This was the ticket that Golden Guardian has had to try to get some plates, to try to get a kill, to try to deny Fudge all of his golden experience, but instead they are killed because of the call from Cloud9 recognizing the prime dive conditions and having the support roam up to the top side. Now, this is a little bit of a mistake from Perks. I think it's a miscommunication because we can see that Perks... See, Vulcan's hovering around Perks, and I think it's just a miscommunication because Vulcan starts walking away and Perks is still going to dash in, which you can't do this. Not with support here. And I think Perks just thought that Vulcan was still there. He wasn't, and good play by Chime again. He's going to flash forward, get the kill onto Perks. And that's a pretty huge pick because now your jungler's on the top side. Iconic wanted the respawn on his red. He didn't care about his blue. He needs the respawn on his red. Chime has just killed the mid laner with the Blaze Olive. Chime, by the way, had a great game on the Leona. I highlighted that he made, him and a Blaze Olive made a nice move by Crab, then getting Perks' flash, and then now the counter gank mid here, or I should say the gank mid. Really good play, really good game from Chime on Leona. He's been everywhere, but in part of being everywhere, he's still level 4, and we'll get to that later. But you've now killed the enemy mid. You've got your jungler and your support on the top side, so Herald is looking pretty free. And if Golden Guardians would have been able to get this Herald, it is a massive denial from the side of Cloud9 because the Herald is their strong side objective. Because Cloud9, they've got the 3-1 Gwen. The Volibear is still stronger than the Diana. And you got a Lucian. Like, Cloud9's on the strong side of the map on the top side. We've been over this a lot. And you always want to get your strong side objective because that's sort of your free objective. Herald was Cloud9's to take, but by picking perks, if Golden Guardians can take away this objective, all of a sudden that's not only is it a big gold swing in the sense that you're stopping the snowball from Cloud9, but you're also getting gold injected into your back pocket. And then the next neutral objective fight becomes around this dragon spawning in 3 minutes. So not only are you denying the objective from Cloud9, but you're forcing them to fight around their weak side objective next. And although Cloud9's bot lane is still doing very well, Sven's up like 15 CS right now, it's not your strong side objective, and Golden Guardians would be able to fight more on their own terms. They'd be able to get some more items for themselves, try to close the gold gap a bit more using that Herald, using the pressure that the Herald generates then to set up a favorable dragon fight, because it's basically a guaranteed turret push when you have the Herald. So it means that while the Herald's being responded to, you can get the vision over dragon. You've got teleports on top laners as well. Renekton loves to teleport into dragon fights and be really beefy, even if he is 1 and 2. And it doesn't matter how fed Gwen is. That's Renekton's time to shine. So although Cloud9 would, I'm sure, be willing to opt into that dragon fight, it wouldn't be as guaranteed for them, and it would be more favorable for Golden Guardians. So if you could deny this Herald, you're sort of taking away the big free neutral objective that Cloud9 has been working towards with all this topside pressure. So that's why the pick on mid is so big and why denying Herald would be massive. And Cloud9, they want to contest this Herald for all the reasons I just listed. They want to get this strong side objective. And they are going to do it because they have a few advantages. One, I mentioned how Chime has been everywhere on the map. He's still level 4, which means he has no ultimate. Vulcan is level 6, so that means ultimate available. 2, flash advantage. Ablaze Olive, no flash. Chime, no flash. Vulcan having no flash doesn't really matter because Chime had just flashed there in the mid lane. So you have summoner spell advantage, you have ultimate advantage. And 3, remember how I said that Sven was doing well on the bottom side? Well, he pushes up and he can walk up. So even though your mid laner got picked, Ziggs isn't a part of this fight. So Cloud9 gets a 4v4 anyway, which they will always win because Gwen and Volibear are stronger than anybody else right now. So as Cloud, and it's a really tight timing window to get everybody up here, but Cloud9, they know they can do it. They know that they can corral everybody into this pit, and Vulcan and Blabber, they're just going to try to buy time for their team to arrive. And Blabber does a really good job of this because he gets in there, gets the shield, uses the ultimate, and okay, so, it gets hit by the Moonfall as well. So he's forced to flash, uses his ultimate, right? But that's everything he needed to do because he got the biggest team fighting ult out of Iconic. He got Iconic to half HP, no mana. Chime, half HP, no mana. And here comes level 6 Fen. He's going to one-shot Chime because he's a level 4 Leona. And Fudge can come in on the backside to cut everybody off. And although Golden Guardians, they do get the Herald, Cloud9 gets all the kills. They get all of the gold. And Golden Guardians, after Licorice does get picked up there, they're down 3,500 gold. And Cloud9 hard win the first 10 minutes of the game. So I hope this video was a bit informative and interesting to watch about how Cloud9 set up the dominoes in the early game and basically forced Golden Guardians to always march to the beat of their own drum. Iconic was not able to do anything on the map without Blabber and Cloud9 knowing about it and them responding effectively when Cloud9 was strong. They recognized where the Golden Guardians was strong. Cloud9 recognized effectively what the tempo of the game was, where they had the first move and where they didn't, and responded to each play in kind, where they were proactive, where they had tempo, like on the top side First Blood, pulling up perks to get the wave bounce. Then they bounce the wave, they make the move up there, and they get the First Blood. Then, when they have the second move, Golden Guardians, they go for a topside dive. Vulcan gets called up, and they make the play. So I hope you all enjoyed this first episode of Through the Hawk's Eye. I'll be back, hopefully next week, with another game for you all. If you have something that you would like to see VOD reviewed, please let me know. I would love to take a suggestion. But anyway, that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you next time.